Hi, this is Rachel from Ray K Books, and today I'm going to be interviewing Deborah Blumenthal. Hello, Deborah.
Hi, Rachel.
Hi, so we're going to be promoting Mafia Girl. Can you please give us a little synopsis?
Okay. Mafia Girl is the story basically of Gia, the daughter of a crime boss. She's a loved, hated character, as you can imagine. She's living in the shadow of her father, who's a cold-blooded murderer. He's also a very devoted father. So she lives in a very conflicted world. She doesn't have a lot of friends, but the friends who she does have are very devoted to her. And she's negotiating her way through going to a very snooty Upper East Side high school that she managed to get into through her father's wealth and high-profile personality. And girls hate her there. Some of them, they're very catty and very nasty to her. And it troubles her. On the other hand, she's running for school president, and she's becoming who she is. The book starts out where she takes a day off with her best friend, and they take her best friend's brother's Porsche, and they get a six-pack and go driving to an outlet store.
Oh no!
Crazy, and get stopped by a green-eyed cop. And that kind of sets the tone for the romance of the book, because Gia falls for this cop hard. And he wants no part of her. So that sets the tone of the book, and the romance is woven through the daily life of Gia at her high school. So and there's a lot going on.
So, what kind of research did you have to do for this book? Did you have to research anything about the mafia or even the car, the Porsche?
I didn't do an awful lot of research, but I was a devoted Sopranos fan. And I was always interested in movies about the mob, reading about John Gotti and his daughter Victoria Gotti. So I was familiar with that world to some degree. My husband wrote a book called Last Days of the Sicilians about a pipeline between Sicily and the United States that brought in drugs. So I had some familiarity with that world. So I didn't have to do an awful lot of research. And she's a fictional character, purely fictional character. And so, no, I don't think I had to do an awful lot of work. Little work on Louboutins, which she does all the time.
So, if you could be best friends with one of your characters in Mafia Girl, who would it be?
She has a male best friend named Clive, who is a super wealthy guy whose parents are media moguls. They live in the Time Warner Center in New York, a multi-million-dollar apartment, and he's a very smart guy, and he's also a very unhappy guy and a lonely guy because his parents are always traveling, and he becomes one of Gia's best friends, and he's just a sweet character who most of the readers really fall for. So I would pick Clive.
So which actor or actress would you pick to play these characters?
You know, that's tough. I really haven't cast it. I hope it comes to that. But
you haven't gotten to that part yet?
I haven't really gotten to that part yet. I really wasn't envisioning a particular actor for Clive or for Gia when I thought of it. There was a model who George Clooney was dating for a while, and I had her in mind a little bit when I created the character physically, but no actress comes to mind.
So, where can you see yourself in 5 years?
I think I'm going to continue to write young adult books. I also write picture books, and I think those are a lot of fun. So I'm very happy writing, and I hope I can keep churning them out. So I'd like to see something become a movie. That would be super, but if not, that's fine. I'll just keep writing books.
So you said you do picture books. So What are the biggest differences between young adult and children's?
You know, that's a good question. I've been asked that before, and I have to say that they're both very similar in that you're telling a compelling story, and whether it's in 1,000 words for a picture book or 60,000 words in a young adult novel, you want to grip the reader and you want to create memorable characters and you want to pare down your prose as much as possible. So I think there are more similarities than dissimilarities. And I don't look at picture books and young adult as being particularly different, even though obviously the age of the audience is quite different.
Is it harder to write one of them than the other, or even writing it is the same?
Well, they're both hard. Some books come together quickly and almost write themselves, and this book did for me. I really felt I knew the character very clearly, and she spoke to me, so I really didn't have that much trouble with writing Mafia Girl. The one I wrote before called The Lifeguard was really slower going because the book didn't come to me initially. And I think every book is so different. And the same thing with picture books. I have some that are sitting in the drawer with 3/4 of them are done. I can't get the ending right. And so they never get sent out. And others that, again, just write themselves.
So yep, go ahead.
No, it just totally depends on the book.
So when it came to Mafia Girl, did you think of the characters first or the plot first?
Definitely the character of Gia, the mob boss daughter. And then once she was pretty defined in my mind, then the plot, I just sort of followed her along in her life, and the plot developed from there.
In what ways are you similar to her or different? Both similar and different.
She's quick to judge, and I think I am too, which is not necessarily a good thing.
Not really.
I sometimes see the world in very black and white terms, which is not fair. So I think she's like that to some degree. And I think there's also a very confident front that she puts up for the world to see, and that's not necessarily who she is. So maybe I share a little bit of that with her.
So what is the easiest thing about writing this particular book, and what is the hardest?
Again, the easiest thing was getting into the character of Gia. The hardest thing was the relationship with the cop, because he's a very introverted guy who has a very strong sense of right and wrong in the world, and yet there's a very different. He's very split. There's the intellectual Michael and there's the emotional Michael, and the two of them are at war with each other for a lot of the book. He refuses to acknowledge his attraction to her, and that was hard. That was hard to create him. Mm-hmm. And because he's so introverted, a lot of it is what the reader imagines him to be. Maybe it's a fault of the book to some degree that he's not quite as developed as you hope he might be.
So you're saying that he obeys the law and is kind of very straightforward. And Gia, from what you're saying, doesn't seem like that type of person. She seems like she's a rule breaker to me. So what makes them a good pair, because they're so opposite? I guess because opposites attract?
Well, it starts out on a purely physical basis. And, I think women, there's that natural attraction to what you can't and shouldn't have. And when you're in the mafia, you shouldn't be seeing a cop.
It's true.
That's sort of the ultimate no-no. What he wants to do is, take her in, basically, and see her father put behind bars. And so that's they're really at polar opposites. So that creates a lot of tension in the book.
So, if you were stranded on a desert island, which character from Mafia Girl do you want by your side?
Well, I think Clive is, again, the friend, because he's so smart and he's a reader and he has the real values. He's not seduced by money because he's had so much of it, and he knows material goods don't make you happy. So he's probably the one you'd want next to you.
Do you have a specific writing style?
Be more specific about the question. What kind of style?
It's okay. Like the style, like some authors like to do third person only. Some like to do only first person. Some like where the main characters are women empowerment, and it's kind of like themes, I guess.
Right. Well, I do write in first person for young adult because I think you get a stronger sense of the personality, and it's more immediate. Before this, I wrote an adult novel in third person, and it worked better for that novel. For young adult, for some reason, for me, it doesn't seem to work that well. But I think, again, it depends on the particular characters and the story, and but many of the young adults are written first person, and I think you feel close to the characters that way.
Mm-hmm. So you say that Gia was just like a really great character. So some authors say to me that the book writes itself sometimes. Do you think that the main character wrote her story herself, like she told you what she wanted to do, or was it a little harder than that?
No, in this case, I really had fun. Just, I always equate it to a Ouija board where you put your fingers on the board and it kind of moves, and you don't know if you're doing it or the other person's doing it, but it's moving. So that was the feeling with her. She moved, and I followed her.
Right.
And I felt I knew her probably better than any other character I had created. So it wasn't hard, and it was fun. I really had a good time writing it.
So the title is Mafia Girl, and it's because she's a mafia girl.
Right.
But why did you come up with Mafia Girl?
At one point, one of the characters says to her, almost as if it's a slur, "Mafia Girl." That's what you are, and that's how he saw her, not as a person of any worth on her own, but just as the daughter of a don, and that's unfortunately a stereotype that she has to live with. She didn't choose to be born into that family, and no one asked her if she approved of it. He's her father, so it just seemed like the right title, and plus it explains right away what the book is about. So I kind of liked it.
It's true. It's Mafia Girl. You know what you're going to get.
Right, exactly.
You're right there.
Right.
So now we're going to be playing a game called Would You Rather. And for the viewers who don't know what Would You Rather is, an example is I would say to Deborah, would you rather eat apples or oranges for the rest of your life? And then she'd have to say apples or oranges. Except this is a literature edition. So let's get started.
Okay.
Would you rather? I don't actually know if you've read these books. I forgot to ask you. So if you haven't read the books, that's okay. We'll just go on to another question. Okay. Would you rather fight next to Hermione from Harry Potter, Katniss from Hunger Games, or Tris from Divergent?
Tris from Divergent.
She's pretty kick-ass, for sure. Would you rather read a book that is poorly written but has an excellent story, or read one with weak content but is written well?
Weak content that is written well.
Would you rather live in the world of Hunger Games or Divergent?
Can I say neither?
That's a cop-out answer, but yes, I'll take
Okay.
it. Who would you rather have as a child, Harry Potter or Hermione Granger?
Harry Potter.
Yep. Would you rather write novels where all the characters are women or all men for the rest of your writing career?
Ooh, all women.
Would you rather only write books in trilogies or standalones?
Standalones.
Would you rather write a book without using conjunctions or have every sentence of your book begin with one?
These are interesting questions.
I tried.
Every sentence, okay.
There's 3 more, don't worry, we're almost done.
Okay.
Would you rather write a plot twist you hated or write a character you hated?
A character I hated.
Would you rather a super successful movie be made from one of your books or a long-lasting television series?
I think I'd go with the movie.
And the last one, would you rather critics rip your book apart publicly or never talk about it at all?
Probably never talk about it at all.
That's fine. I know some authors are just like, but it's my book.
Exactly. It's my soul.
All my blood and my tears went into it.
Right. That's right.
So congratulations, that's the end of the game. Yay!
Okay. Yay!
Yay! So my next 3 questions are going to be teams. Are you team Edward or Jacob?
Edward.
Are you team Gail or Peta?
Gail.
Are you team Simon or Jace? I don't know if you Mortal Instruments.
Didn't read it.
Okay. And so those were books that got turned into movies. So what is your favorite book turned movie?
God. Well, Twilight, I guess. Those were just fun.
So what advice would you give to your younger self?
Just work hard, basically. Work hard and read as much as possible, which, I mean, we all know you have to do. But, I mean, I think that really is so key to writing, to read everything you can and just sit down at the machine and work. Whether it looks like you're going to have a productive day or not, just try. You never know what happens.
So what's a genre that you will never write in, that you just have no interest, and what's a genre that you want to adventure into that you never really tried?
Well, you know, if I were science fiction, I just have no interest in science fiction, so I'll never do any of that. Now, in terms of realistic fiction, I think I'd like to do middle grade novels, but I haven't tried that yet. So maybe in the future.
Maybe. You never know. So what is the day in the life of Deborah?
Oh, it's really boring. Work. Get up early, eat breakfast, sit down at the computer at like 8:30, work till midday, take the dog out, maybe go to the gym, work some more, find something for dinner, and sometimes still work at night, depending on how things are going.
So for your own reading, do you prefer ebooks or traditional paperback?
You know, I do both, but I find that when I buy books and ebooks, if I like them, I end up buying them anyway. Because if I have it as an ebook, I kind of forget about it, and I can't pull it off the shelf to look at it again. So I definitely, if I want instant gratification, I'll buy the ebook, but I really prefer to have an actual book.
So take, like, from your first book to now Mafia Girl, how do you think you've evolved creatively?
You know, I'm a Gemini, and I'm just like all over the place. I don't think of it really as an evolution. I think the work hopefully gets better, but it's certainly different with every book. And I really jump around in terms of topics, so they're all so different that I don't see it as an evolution. I just see it as going in different, exploring different directions and different themes.
What inspired you to write your first book?
My very first book was a picture book about my daughter having a horrible tantrum. So she had a horrible tantrum, and I was a new mother, and I didn't know how to handle it, and I was completely overwhelmed. So after we got home and I put her in a crib, I sat down at the time at a typewriter and wrote a book about it. So that led to the first one.
How old is she now?
23.
So whenever did you ever say to her now, "Hey, remember the first book I wrote? That's how horrible you were as a child."
That's right. I remind her all the time. No. Well, she's my muse, so I thank her for it.
Do you have any advice for other writers? Or how about this, inspiring writers?
Wait, advice for
inspiring writers, people who want to be.
Again, don't tell people how much you want to write a book. Just write the book. Sit down and do it. Do a terrible job, but do something. Have something on paper that you can work with, and don't run out and try to get a literary agent right away. Just hone your craft and write as well as you can, and keep polishing it and keep working on it. And then when you're confident it's the best you can do at that point in time, show it to someone.
How long does it take you to write a book?
It just varies. So a picture book can take 2 days, or it can take 10 years. If it's coming together, great. And if not, I'll put it aside and come back to it and keep working on it. So there really is I hope no one ever points a gun to my head and says, you have to finish this book in 6 months.
Oh, God. I hope so either.
I'm trying to do that.
So, do you think that the cover plays an important part of the buying process?
I think it's huge, absolutely, which is why I try to give some direction to my publisher if I have a sense of what the book should look like. Absolutely. I mean, you go into a bookstore, you're competing with thousands of books, so it's key that the cover looks enticing. You want someone to pick it up.
Can I see the cover for Mafia Girl?
Sure. You got it? Oh. I think it's a pretty strong cover. Yeah, is it there? Okay.
Very nice. So it's a very sexy cover.
It's a sexy, very strong cover, right.
Did you do the sexiness like on purpose? Did you want it to be kind of, not sexy, but more seductive? Is she a seductive character?
She's a very seductive character. And that was very key, and I wanted the cover to represent that. Absolutely.
Who is the model's name?
I don't know. I think they bought a stock photograph, but I have no idea. It's funny, as a writer, you get these questions from readers, particularly the lifeguard has a adorable guy with no shirt on, and I get emails from girls all the time. Who's the guy on the cover? I really don't know.
What about my book? Why aren't you writing about my book?
Right. Well, I'm glad they're interested in something. If that gets them into the book, terrific.
So do you say, like, after you write the book, do you say to the publisher, I want the cover to be like this? Or do they present you with an idea and then you say, I like that idea, how about you do this with it?
Well, generally, I'll tell them before, when I hand in the manuscript, this is my idea. And then I hope they agree. I don't have final word on the cover, but I have generally consultation rights. So we talk about it. Ultimately, it's their decision. But I was thrilled with Mafia Girl cover, and I was thrilled with the Lifeguard cover. So I think they did really a fine job with both of them.
My next question is actually, so there's a hot guy on the lifeguard, and there's a seductive girl on Mafia Girl. So do you believe that not only the cover, like if people are like, oh, that cover is really beautiful, I want to, like see more about it. Do you think that someone hot or someone who's seductive, like the way they are your books, do you think that plays even a better part of it?
Again, I think it's very key if there's a romance element in the book that the cover be reflective of the theme and your vision as an author. I think that's really important. Interestingly enough, I wrote an adult novel called Cosmopolitan Life, self-published it, and the cover has a cosmopolitan, just the drink on it. And I have to redo the cover because I think it looks more like a bar guide than a romance novel. So, live and learn. But I think readers of romance, even whether it's young adult or adult, they want some guy on the cover they can relate to. So I think,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's so important.
The next game we're going to play is called Fill in the Blank with the first word that pops into your head. Okay. So it's self-explanatory. I'm going to say something like, my favorite color is blank. And right when I say blank, you have to say the first word that pops into your head. Okay. So it could be blue, or it could be spaghetti.
Okay.
So the first one is, when I first sit down to write, I blank.
Think.
When I write, I have to have blank.
Coffee.
When creating a new character, I want them to have blank.
Soul.
All great mysteries have to have blank.
Wow.
One word, that's all it is.
Trouble.
I don't like a book when it has blank.
Weather report. Weather.
Weather. When I read a bad review of my book, I blank.
Get hurt.
My character reaches out of the pages, takes my hand, and I blank.
Smile.
And that concludes our game. Yay! You did well. That was an A+. Good job.
Okay.
So I'll ask one more question, and then I'm going to talk about the giveaway.
Okay.
And that is, are you a full-time or a part-time writer?
No, full-time.
Full-time?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I thought there would be more to it, but I guess not. That concludes.
Full-time. Time and a half, actually.
Okay, so it concludes our interview. So now I'm going to talk about the giveaway.
Okay.
Deborah is so kindly giving away Mafia Girl, the book that we were talking about. And this is for USA only and ends April 16th, so next Wednesday. Okay. And in order to win, you have to do maybe two things. One, you have to comment. This little live chat thing is going to become a YouTube video, so you need to comment on that YouTube video. And then the second thing to do, which is optional because not everybody has a Twitter, is to follow Deborah on Twitter. And I will put her username in the description when I can. And when you do follow her, please put your username in the comment so I can verify the point. So again, comment on the video, and if you have a Twitter, follow Deborah on Twitter, and then post your username in the comments so I can verify. So thank you so much, Deborah. I had a great time talking to you.
Thank you, Rachel. I really appreciate it.
Yes, bye-bye.
Bye. Take care.